Hello, today I'm going to talk about section 10.1. Since you have a copy of all the answers, I'm not going to go through every single part of the worksheets, but I will do the parts I think are difficult or could be misunderstood. So I'm going to start with the bottom here. Okay, they're going to ask us to find all square roots. I know on the sheet she put the plus and the minus, but we're going to only list the positive, the principal square root of each particular problem. So let's start with the notation first. Okay, so this symbol right here is called the square root sign. It's also called a radical, or a radical symbol, and this is what we call the radicand. Just a little bit of information for you. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go down to the bottom of the sheet. So they want us to find the square root of each of these. Again, I know on the sheet she put plus or minus, but typically they just put the plus. So the square root of 64, you try to think of what squared gives me 64, and that would be 8. And I'll just keep going down from there. I won't do all of these, but just a couple of these. The square root of 900 is 30, because 30 squared gives me 900. And I'll go ahead and do this one down here as well. The square root of 25 over 196. One of the properties about radicals we'll talk about a little bit later is where you can separate the numerator and denominator. So we're going to do it that way. Again, we'll cover that a little bit later on in this chapter. The square root of 25 is 5. And the square root of 196 is 14. Okay, now let's go over to a couple examples over here. For this one, they want us to find the square of each radical expression, so I want to square each of these. So if I square this one, square root and square are kind of opposites of each other. So this means I'm going to take a square root of 100 times square root of 100, and that will actually give me 100. That's 10 times 10, which actually gives me 100. This one, the same thing. I'm going to take 2/3, square root of 2/3 times square root of 2/3, and that's going to give me the square root of 4/9, which gives me 2/3. Okay, now this is a little bit different. I want to take the square of this, so I'm going to square this whole thing. So I'm going to take it times itself. Now we know if we take a negative times the negative, the whole thing becomes positive. So it becomes positive 19 for that one. Finally, this last one, we don't know about x, but we assume since it's squared, it's going to be positive. If I'm going to square this, we'll end up getting 3x squared plus 4. Okay, so that's the first page of the sheet.